we're going to use that. I got to move through this circle. So keep on your table. Go ahead and go ahead and put it on. Yeah, and this is Jews wear the kippah, the yarmulke for bar mitzvahs, for Passover, during high holidays, during regular Shabbat services, all the time. So it's just a symbol of reverence for the Lord. Thing we have that you'll notice on the table now just this table has a Seder plate. I only had one Seder plate. So everybody else just has these cups with these items around it. All right. The other thing I'd like to mention that this is a Messianic Seder. Did anyone not know that this was a Messianic Seder when they came? Anybody surprised? No? Okay. All right. This is a Messianic Seder. Right. So my wife says, "Okay, explain what a Messianic Seder means." And I'll tell you the story. When I first became a believing Jew or a Christian, my parents were not happy about it. They were a little confused about it, to say the least. And my brother's talking to my dad, and my brother says, "Dad, Phil says he became a Messianic Jew." And my brother said, "Dad, what's that?" And my dad says, "Oh, Phil's always been into that kind of crazy stuff." So, so the point of that is even a lot of Jews today don't even know what that really means. So, what it means is Messiah, Messianic. It comes from the Hebrew word Mashiach, which is Hebrew for Messiah. It literally translates into the Lord's anointed one. So, King David was obviously the Lord's anointed one for a time, not in that same meaning, but then obviously that came forth to Christ. So this is a Messianic Seder. So what we'll be doing here this evening is engaging in a Seder, and Seder is a Hebrew word that means order. So we're going to follow an order that Jews have done for thousands of years. We're going to be following the Seder that Jesus did during the Last Supper, on the night before he was crucified. As many Jews know, as many Christians know, the Last Supper was a Seder. It was the Passover that was celebrated. So this Seder is modeled after that same Last Supper that Jesus did. Let me give you a quick testimony about sort of how I became a Christian. As you know, I was raised as a Jew. I was bar mitzvahed. I was what I considered growing up a believing Jew, even though I attended a Reform synagogue. My parents had grown up. My dad had grown up conservative, and his family was even Orthodox. So I grew up as a Jew. I was bar mitzvahed. I was trained in ancient Hebrew, and I was going through the synagogue, and even as I would go through the synagogue, I was very inquisitive, and I'd always ask the rabbis. I say, rabbis, how do you get to heaven? And the rabbi would tell me, well, you follow the 10 Commandments, and okay, well, follow all of them. Then what else? Well, you just be a good Jew. And then I would go on and on. I was always curious about eternity and how you got there. And as you know, in Judaism, it's all sort of righteousness centered. And as I got a little bit older, I was still a practicing Jew, but I was really searching the scriptures, and I was dating my wife Catherine, and her father actually, Larry Conrad's over there somewhere. Larry, yeah, I came over to his house, and he said, well, I want you to read this, I want you to read this. And I said, well, no, I've read it all, I know what's in there. I'm not going to read it. As a Jew, you're immediately taught anything written in English is suspect. So he pulls out this. Because this is your Old Testament. Here's the Torah. How is it written in English? It can't be. So he said, no, I want you to read it. So he pulled out some of the Messianic prophecies in Isaiah, and he read to me the things in Isaiah, and he said, he pierced for our transgressions, and then he turned over to Micah and read, you will be the Messiah will be in Bethlehem, and then we'd go to Zechariah and look, O Zion, here come your king on it. And he'd say, came to the conclusion that Jesus was the Christ Messiah. Now, I came to that conclusion, but I didn't want to confess it. I mean, I knew that that was true, but if I confessed it, then I'd be thrown out of the synagogue. I'd lose, I'd never be able to do business with Jews in Houston again. So I didn't want to do it. So I went on, and then, one night I was in law school, and I came home, and I read the gospel for the first time in the entirety, all in one sitting, and I was just overwhelmed by the love of Christ, and that's when it just, I never seen that love in our scriptures. But not only was it love, it was like the perfect completion of our scriptures. That's how I became a believing Jesus. So, your son, we're starting on page 2, and you shall tell it to your son on that day, saying, because of this God did for me when he took me out of Egypt. From Exodus 13:8. The scripture commands Jews to celebrate the deliverance from Egypt, and specifically the Passover, when the angel of the Lord passed over the Jewish homes, marked by the Lamb's blood, and spread the first word. The Hebrew word Seder, or English, describes the way in which we partake in the meal, which involves a series of rituals commemorating the Exodus from Egypt. This Seder dinner is not only relevant to Jews, but is of critical importance to Christians also. As the Passover Seder was the last supper of Jesus before being crucified, we will not only engage in the Jewish rituals during our Seder, but also explore the significance and the symbolism of Jesus as the Passover lamb. Furthermore, we will examine the Last Supper of our Lord and the way in which Jesus led the disciples in his final Seder dinner. So, the Hebrew aspect of it is it's a retelling of the story of Exodus. It's the freedom of the Jews from Pharaoh and Egypt. And the first thing we'll do is we'll do the blessing over the Kiddush, which is the blessing over the wine. So if everyone will recite with me, and what you're going to want to do is sit in a reclining. You're going to recline to the left, pick up your cup of wine, and then we're going to say the blessing over the wine. The reason we recline to the left is because we were slaves in Israel, and tonight we are free. So we remember that we recline as free men. We're able to recline. I know it says leader, but everyone read with me. Blessed art thou, O eternal, our God, King of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Hebrew. So everyone take a sip as they recline to the left. Kiddush, or sanctification in English, is a blessing over the wine to sanctify the Passover festival. The Paschal Supper began, as always, by the head of the company taking the first cup and speaking over it at Thanksgiving. On Passover, we recline as we recite the Kiddush and throughout the rest of the meal as a symbol of our freedom from the bond of Egypt. As slaves in Egypt, Jews were often required to take meals standing up. Thus, on Passover, we recline in relaxation as we eat to commemorate our freedom. Okay, the prayer we have just recited was so often used and so simple that we need not doubt that these were the very words spoken by Jesus. In ancient Passover services, there was considerable liberty left to the individual leader, and at present, a cup is filled for each individual, but Christ seems to have passed the cup round among the disciples. And everyone remembers that from the gospel, that Christ passes the cup. So that was a difference that Jesus did. All right, the next thing, washing of the hands. So Jews are very clean people. I always tell people that Levitical law and Jewish law was superior to modern medicine. I think until may still be, but I think until recently, as far as maybe definitely until the 20th century. So they were well ahead of our time as far as cleanliness and washing of the hands. And everyone remember in the gospel it said, well, he eats with sinners. He eats with people that don't wash their hands, and that was very important. So that's why at this Seder dinner, everybody will wash their hands. Now we're not asking everyone to go to the restroom, but you do have I think wet ones. which was intended to be a lesson, an example of humility and service, was evidently connected with the dispute of which of them should be accounted by greater. It was at this point of the service in which Jesus girded himself on the time, poured water into a basin, like a slave about to perform the lowest of services. Jesus here turned to the washing of his hands and acts of self-righteousness and externalism by the leader of the service into the washing of the feet, an act of humility by the. So here you have Jesus doing what he does, which is take what Jews and the Pharisees have done for thousands of years, turn it on its head, and say, and where the washing of the hands was a righteousness thing. So I'm like, Jesus does the exact opposite. He says, no, you must serve, you must, and he washes the feet of his disciples, and that's where that took place. So there's a lot of powerful symbolism there, and so we'll wait for everyone to have a little bit the washing of the hands there, and okay, we'll keep moving on. Okay, carpus. These are the carpus is the herbs on the table, the parsley there. For the leader of the table, if you grab a small piece of parsley and dip it into the bowl of water and distribute, if you got that, distribute that to those at the table. Okay. The salt water in which we dip the parsley symbolizes the tears that the Jews shed in Egypt during slavery. The vegetables symbolize the coming of the spring. We recited the above prayer to thank God for the fruits of the earth, such as vegetables. Okay. That's that.
We eat it?
Yeah, eat it. Eat it. I
like that parsley. I have more.
All right. Now we're going to move on to the matzah.
She had her way.
Okay? The leader of each table takes the middle matzah of the three. So the leader take the middle matzah. You got three matzahs. You got three matzah. Take the middle matzah and break it into two. And put one part of it back in the paper in the napkin there.
Put that back in there.
In the middle. Now we keep this one other matzah out. Leave the table to keep this one other matzah out. Okay? All right. So.
Okay, this is supposed to go somewhere.
Right. So now this matzah will become the afikomen. Okay. So I don't know if I have that in there. Yeah. It says wraps the largest half in the cloth to set aside for the afikomen. So we're going to set that aside, and we're going to keep going. So leaders, keep that one matzah, keep that one matzah out. All right. Now leaders, raise the dish in which the broken matzah lies. This is the bread of misery which our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. All that are hungry, come and eat. All that are needy, come and keep Passover. This year, here a slave. Next year in the land of Israel, as free men. Okay, you can set it back down. Right? This bread commemorates the suffering in Egypt as slaves and invites all to come and partake in the Passover. But what about the last sentence? This last sentence has been recited for thousands of years by Jews who lived during the periods, including today, where Israel was controlled and occupied primarily by Jews. Why would then Jews living in Israel still recite this portion? Some rabbis explain that Israel is used metaphorically to imply deliverance to a spiritual ideal of Jews working together. While this view reflects a modern Reform opinion, I believe the Jews recited this last portion in anticipation of the Messiah who would deliver them. This last sentence takes on new significance when Jesus Christ recites it during the Last Supper. Through his sacrifice on the cross, it was Jesus who would fulfill these words and deliver Israel and the rest of the world for sin. So here Jesus is doing this at the Last Supper, and he's reciting these words, and it takes on this special meaning when Jesus does this with the matzah. Essentially, what Jesus is saying is he's the sacrifice, and he's about to fulfill this. So now we need to fill the cup with the second cup of